Yeah. Start that. Yep. All right, good to go. Assalamu alaikum. Peace. I am Coach Nazir.
Assalamu alaikum, peace. I'm Coach Fatimah, his wife.
Assalamu alaikum, peace. I'm Coach Nyla. I am also his wife.
We are the founders of Outstanding Personal Relationships, as well as the authors of the book that you see in front of you. Let's Talk Polygamy Uncensored. Over 320 pages of good practical stuff when it comes to practicing polygyny. For those of you who don't know, let's start with a basic definition. We hear the term polygamy quite a bit, right? And that's usually assumed to mean a man who is married to multiple wives. So you look at me and say, okay, these are my wives, then he's practicing polygamy. Technically, that's correct. All right. However, there's a specific term when a man practices polygyny. That term is known as polygyny. All right. So polygamy means a spouse who is married to multiple spouses. Polygyny means a husband who is married to multiple wives. Then there's another term called polyandry, which is a woman married to multiple husbands. We don't do that here. So that's just the definitions and to let you know the deal. With that being said, I'm going to share because sharing is
Caring. Not Karen, but caring.
Indeed. Again, I'm Coach Nadir. I'm going to be sharing some stuff like that. We're going to be discussing something we've been talking about in our community for a little while, which is love and polygamy. So love and polygyny, there's a lot of myths, there's a lot of stereotypes, a lot of stuff that goes along with that. Like, can it be possible? How is it? Is it different? So on and so forth. And I'm going to fall back. My wives will take over, introduce themselves, and move forward. And pay attention to the bottom of the screen, so it has some instructions also if you want to ask questions and things like that.
Well, beans.
Alrighty, I'm Coach Fatimah.
Hmm.
That guy's wife.
And I'm Coach Nyla. Also that guy's wife. So yeah, guys, let us know where you are watching us from.
Yes.
Of course, if you guys been with us for a while, you know that that's how we started off. We want to know where you guys are watching from, where you guys are, chilling at, and all that other good stuff. So yeah, we want to know that. How are you doing on this Sunday? Or if you're, I guess down under, then what is it? Monday? I think. So yes, and of course the instructions on the bottom if you want to post your comments, post your questions. Make sure you put question marks in front of your questions and afterwards, so we can pick out your questions and know that there are questions under instead of the comments. Even though we read the comments too, just letting you know. For IG, we want to get to you. We do, but we will have to do an extra little bit to see your comments. So what we would like for you to do, we'll ask for you to do, if you want to comment, if you want to be a part of this live stream where you have questions and things like that, please go over to our YouTube channel at Outstanding Personal Relationships. Go to our YouTube channel. Or go to Facebook, same Outstanding Personal Relationships. You'll find us. So, and we'll be able to see your questions and comments from there. Okay. If you guys can hear us, want to do a sound check as well, put a thumbs up because we want to make sure you can hear us because, you could probably see our lips moving and that would be messed up for the whole duration of this. You can't hear, you just see a bunch of lips moving. So make sure. Let me see if you guys can hear us. Put a thumbs. Okay, you can? Cool. Yay. All right. What's up? What's up?
And also, I want to say this quickly because it needs to be said. For some of you, we keep it respectful here on our YouTube channel and our different platforms. So we want to make sure that those of you that might be new, possibly triggered by the fact that Coach Nadir is sitting between us, that's okay, and we understand. However, we're going to make sure that we're respectful. I'm just saying so because, it doesn't, we'll deal with it regardless. But there's been some negative energy in some of the comments, and people get upset just because we are two women sitting here having the same husband. That's not going to change.
Awesome. Okay, another thing too, if you guys have names on your IG or on your social media or your profile, like I see Betsy's Craft Bag, we want to be able to call you by your name. So I don't know if I say Betsy or anything like that. So let us know. Let us know what would you like us to call you, okay, when we are addressing your questions or your comments and everything like that. So of course I have to like call you out, Betsy's crab bag, just in case, you know, you want to put something in. You want to know who you are. Let's see. Alhamdulillah. That's my favorite team. I had Sufyan said my favorite team. Betsy's Craft Bag, New Jersey, South Carolina, Xavier Rah. I had Sufyan from the Caribbean island of Trinidad and Tobago. Wahid Muhammad from Atlanta, Georgia.
Hot.
Yes, inshallah. Yes, we'll have that information. If you don't have it already, to join the OPR online community. Yes,
Hey, Kelly.
Inshallah. Oh, what is this? Okay, Texas. All right, T. Okay, I hope you guys, as Coach Nyla was sharing, I hope you guys were too. That as well. That okay. You should share. You guys are getting some benefit from. Don't just keep it yourself. Be stingy. No.
Like it.
Thank you.
Work for us. Catch more people.
And we can reach more people that way. So it doesn't cost you anything. Just do it. All right. Thank you.
So one of the major questions that we get and that we hear all the time is love. How does that work when it comes to polygyny? All right. How does it work when it comes to a man loving more than one woman? Is it possible? Because you get those say, no, he only loves his first wife. Everything else is just for fun and for play. All right. And then you get the, no, it's just lust and knuckles on the ground and just not being able to control his desires. And then it's, oh, can she really still love him? Well, he only loves 50% because he loves 150%. There's a lot of stuff that's being said. So what are some of the myths and things you've heard when it comes to love and polygamy? Sound like a new TLC show or something, right?
For real.
Love and polygamy love, or something like that. But yeah, so what are some of the things that you hear? We're definitely interested in hearing about that as we get ready to address it. And wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh for everybody who has entered and will enter. We respond to your salams like that. All right, Louisville, Kentucky, we see you, Abdul Rahim. So I'll start real quick. One of the ones that I hear is that you can't love them equally. You can't love women equally. You can't love more than one person or one wife equally. And I'm going to say this. I'll say you're correct. And the reason I say you're correct is because Islam says that actually, no matter how much you try, you aren't going to be able to love anybody equally. Now, but I'm going to ask you this because I've never heard of a device that can actually measure love. Like, any of y'all have a love-o-meter that you can measure and check and see with anything? Like, for example, people love to say, parents who aren't honest usually say, you know what? I love all my children equally. Okay, cool. How do you measure that? How do you actually know that? What if you've been loving one for 17 years and been loving one for 17 months? Is it equal now? You know what I'm saying? So how have you come across it? How have you dealt with it? What are some of the things that you have heard? I'll be waiting.
I mean, sometimes it's not even equal. They'll say at all.
Oh yeah, definitely. They'll throw it out the window.
They don't even go over to equal.
You like,
can't. It's an impossibility. Well, then I'll ask you this: if that's impossible, then people forget about having children. They remember how to get them, but they forget about how it feels to love more than one of your children. And we've talked about this before. We trained on it in depth. But if you have one child, you don't stop loving that first and only child just because there's another child on the way. In my case, it was 7 people. So I didn't stop doing that. However, I did we prepared the children for the next child to come, if you can, so that they could receive them with love and say, oh, your baby's kicking, and and talk like that. But some people just say you can't do it at all until it comes to children. You can do it then, but not with anybody else. I remember my dad, he had a mistress, and this is not the case with us
he mentioned just one mistress?
At the time, it was one, because he got older. So
Now you cut
brother
like 4, 5
got
in
old, but when he
rotation.
was younger, he put the H and O and O. Anyway, he was married and he passed away, and his wife was like, "Oh, she called and I can't leave her," and then she's like, "Oh, he can't love her like can't love each other. He can't love us both." And I said, "I don't know about that one." I said, "I think he could," and he did. Unfortunately, he was a questionable husband, questionable father. But when I said that to her, her perspective changed, and she was hurting because he had passed away.
Hmm.
And she said, when you put it that way, I said, "Did you stop loving my little sister because the other little sister came along?" And she was like, "No, I didn't." I said, "Well, when you put it in that perspective, although what he did was not polygyny, she understood love from his perspective, from a man's perspective in a different way. So even though she was hurting, she felt better after I told her that, because it was like, dang, you gotta look at what's in front of you sometimes,
Oh,
be
definitely.
accepting of it and not make it something else that you want it to be, you know."
I think because people put limitations on it. They put limitations on love where it's expanding. And you can see that in every sense of you see that in everything. If you think about love, and people are like, "Oh, love conquers all," and love this and love that, all this other stuff about love until it comes to polygyny.
Yeah, love is love. But
That's,
polygyny, oh no, not
that's
that.
the amazing thing. It's so funny to me because when it comes to children, when it comes to family members, when it comes to new additions and everything, until it comes to polygyny. So it's like, why is this a different thing? It's because that's the narrative that we want to put in our heads. If that's the narrative you want to put in your head, that's a choice. You know, why is that so different? But people was like, "Oh, well, because those relationships are different, because it's not an intimate relationship or it's not a sexual relationship." And that's what they mean, sexual relationship, because you could be intimate with a person without it being sex. So,
and you can have a sexual relationship without it being intimate or any type of love.
Exactly. So when it all comes down to it, why is that the difference? Why? You know, and if you are that person, you know, that's saying that, and I'm not saying put it out there in the comments, whatever, you know, I'm not going to put you on blast, but the thing is, ask yourself that, you know, why is that a different thing than, you know, why can love be expanding in any other shape of any other part of my life or any other part of life, except for when it comes to a man being married to multiple women, you know, or having multiple wives.
The complaint, that's so true, because I was thinking about this as a woman. I said, the men don't think like that. They'll go, "Oh no, I can love more than one woman." I bet you that. You know, they'll say that, and it's almost it's limitations. We're putting a limitation there. They're not doing that. They're like, "Oh, who said I can't?" I might not be equipped to like financially deal with it or whatever, but I understand that I could do
Right.
that. My heart is big.
If it's responsibilities, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But what the love, what the heart feels, and that type of thing, it's like we don't control that. We don't have control over that. So for us to be so adamant to tell someone what they can't do when it comes to something that they can't control, but it is in us to actually expand our love for people. And if it's okay for us as women to expand our love for our children, expand our love for our parents, expand our love, you know, for grandparents and other people in our family, of friends and all and whatnot. Because I can tell you, I got a number of friends, you know, and just because I had, you know, this friend this long time, you know, or whatever the case may be, and then I have this other friend that come in, I don't stop loving this friend because this friend came along. Now, she may have done some stuff, because I've kicked some people to the curb before because they stopped being a friend. It's because they stopped being a friend, not because another person came along, not because another friend came along. You know, and that's another thing too, because they were like, "Well, that's your child." When we say kids, when it goes into the kids, they're like, "Well, that's your child. You have this connection. You just, okay, let's go with friends then." I didn't have my friend. I didn't give birth to my friend. You know, and I know we all can say that as women, we can say that, you know what I'm saying? You know, right? But we can say that as women when we get together and we connect with other women and we do these different things. It's like, man, I love her. Like, you know, whatever. And then she could come in, you know, brand spanking new, and it seems like you've been connected to her like forever. You know, I don't know. Let me know if you guys had that. I've had that connection with people before, and I'm like, dang, you know, it's like I've known you forever. And I could have a friend that I've known for 20 years, and I don't have that connection with. So yeah. So not only is love, expandable, but it doesn't always have to deal with time either. Like how long you know a person, or how long that person has been, or how short of a time that person has been in your life.
So that goes to the other question. Okay, great. Y'all talking about man's love is expansive and everything and all that, but a woman could love multiple men too. What about that?
That still goes into the oh gosh, that still go into responsibility, because that's the thing where people try to put that in there as a knee-jerk reaction of why can't women have, or if a man is married to multiple women, why can't women be married to multiple men? And that goes into the whole thing where we talked about before about the polyandry, and that's not what we do and everything like that, because it goes way more. It's more than that. And when it comes to the responsibility, and when it comes to what we do, and men and women are not the same. Like, we're gonna keep going into that and hammer that in. Men and women are not the same, because even though men can love multiple women and take care of them and be the protector and provider and things like that, the things we do as women, the things that are natural for us to do as women, we are not naturally able to do, because it will drain us.
Naturally able to do it.
For men, to men, like naturally able to do is being for multiple men. Yeah, like being this nurturing, caring person. Like we focus, the way we focus, and the demands that being a wife has.
What are these demands that you're talking about?
Alrighty. Sex, care, being there, the support system, it's different. Like I'm gonna go back into the motherhood role too, because being a mother to multiple children, and the majority of them being guys, there's a whole nother level of the game. The needs and the look what I can do, and the maybe Coach, I think could talk about a little bit more about the things that men do, or and guys do, because I can see it in my boys of to get this love, attention, support, and everything like that from a woman. So it can be exhausting. It can be exhausting as a mother. So to think about that as a wife, in addition to adding on sexual stuff, and being there like that, like, are you mad?
So you mean like cooking,
cleaning,
laundry
clean,
stuff?
cooking, cleaning, things as far as that.
I mean, I just want to talk about the practical parts, because
I would say
when women bring up, well, I can have multiple men, they're only, I see that they're only thinking from the sexual aspect, and I thinking of a wife and responsibilities and actual things like that. That's why I asked you, a little more about it, because who in their right mind wants to go and, all right, I'm gonna take care of 4 homes or 3 homes or multiple homes and all these other things, when they're only thinking about one thing in general.
And this is an interesting thing too, because we talked about cooking and cleaning, because yes, people can go throw in, because I know it'd be that too, where it's like, well, did she really have to cook and clean? No, you got men who would, hire help and do those different things like that. But we're talking about, let's throw that out the window then for now. And we still talk about the care and the attention and the support and that stuff. Those are things that causes physical, mental exhaustion. So if you're doing that consistently and jumping from this house, where are you gonna stay? Y'all gonna stay in one roof? Please, that'd be interesting to find some men, real men, that are looking to share one room. That's gonna have that without it. Have you guys seen a football game? I don't care if it's American football or European football, soccer, whatever. I don't care. Have you seen the testosterone that comes from that? Hockey, any type of manly sport, so.
It's so interesting. We want Superman, but we don't want to be Wonder Woman.
Oh.
So when you got more than one husband, so the mental energy it takes to have, and we're talking about wifehood now. We're talking about wifehood, to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row and you are showing up in your marriage as a wife.
There'll be Wonder Woman.
24/7. And people go, no, he switch out houses. No, I'm married all the time,
Right.
24/7, all three
Exactly.
of us. So if some, so that like what you said about the men getting into it in the football. Some husbands, you better not grab the door to open the door for their wife, and they're standing there because that's disrespectful. They don't even know you. You can imagine if you tied up in a house with a man and one wife, and there's other things going on within your eyesight and within your reach.
Looking in their face, anything like that. No, come on. But I was like, oh, you'll be Wonder Woman to be wondering where that woman is because ain't nobody, nobody trying to do that. That's crazy. I'm just saying. Yeah. because people have done that with us on a number of occasions. Like that's what we want. We're in this thing that he has two wives and we really, really want another man. We really want another husband. We don't know what we want. Like we just hear like held hostage, whatever. Like blink twice if you need some help or, and I know I'm like, usually I don't kind of go in like this, but this is one of the topics that really get to me because it's like consenting adults going to do what consenting adults do, and men don't have to get married in order to have sex because that's usually the thing. And I feel that women,
what you mean? Because that's not a complete statement.
Men don't have to get married to have sex.
Yeah. What does that mean?
That's
your position.
You said what? Okay, to have. Okay, they should be, as far as morally, they'll get married. I'm like, they don't have to be
nobody has
married.
Men or women.
So the thing is, when women say that that's where the polygyny thing lies, is a sexual thing, or he want more sex and everything like that, that takes the love out of the equation and the situation because all it is just lust and all these different things like that.
Though all of her friends, for example, in the West, that all your friends, I'm sure, when they got married, were virgins. So when they put that white dress on, it actually meant they
I
was
got
virgins.
friends that ain't even married and they got kids. Let's
and
be
then
real.
they get married at the 10th.
Right.
Okay. We're not living in this world where all of a sudden people just think that, oh yeah, everybody gets married. It's normal and natural to get married before you have sex in the West. Now, where we are right now in Africa, that's normal. That's part of culture and so on and so forth, right? But those types of morals and beliefs have been thrown out the window for a lot of feminists or feminazi beliefs, unfortunately. But I'm just saying, we have to be real with where we're coming from.
And I think that's the thing. Sometimes people they get nervous when you start speaking the real. It's like, no, you shouldn't do that. But they start throwing out these, like when we start talking about certain things that's very uncomfortable, then it's like, oh no, you shouldn't say that, OPR. Oh, just not talk about this, OPR. But those comments be coming. So don't think that we're not going to address the comments. Don't think that it's not content. This is content, because the thing is, other people are seeing it. Even if they don't comment, they've seen it. They've seen what we've said. They've seen the other comments. So a lot of times when we are addressing these issues, it's not for the poster who are already the original poster. It's for the people who are really confused, or for the people that really want to understand some things. And there are people out there who really want to understand. It's like, okay, well, how can a man love multiple women, or how can? And it's really a genuine question, because they can't, because of conditioning, they don't understand that. They can't see that.
So let's address that, because there's a number of different statements even in this area. I'm going to put them on screen, so let me find them. There's some pretty good statements. Brian, matter of fact, let's go to your question real quick. Actually, Abdurrahim, he says, being that I have a blended family, I love them all, but the girls are my favorite, but I don't show it among the other children. That's the key, not to show it around the other children. That's good. And I have 4 daughters first, followed by 6 boys.
My grandpa used to be so partial to girls, and he had 3 sons, and I didn't realize my grandparents lost a daughter shortly after childbirth. That's why he was all up on me as his first granddaughter. But I asked him, I said, why are you biased toward little girls? And he said, let me tell you something. He used to call me Little Mama. He called my grandma Big Mama. He said, Little Mama, let me tell you something. Them girls will take care of your ass. Them boys will leave you. And I said, oh, okay. I get it now. And he was dead serious, because he just said it. I don't know where I get it from, but he just said it. And I said, that makes sense. They're gonna nurture and take care of and create a home, no matter if they're your daughter, no matter if they're your bonus daughter, or your wives or your sisters or whatever, they're going to make sure you're okay. And the boys are going to be somewhere building their home.
Exactly.
Right. Wives, right?
Yeah,
so that was really, really interesting. So that's another layer to it.
Especially in the West. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
The whole rise of nursing homes and kick them out, and that is what it is type thing.
Definitely.
So it's rare, even for me. I mean, where we are with men, entire families, they're very visible and take care of the family, put them first for real.
Mm-hmm.
So
everywhere.
Brian says, greetings. Any reason behind a quote on 4 wives in Islam, and also polygyny and long distance relationships with different time zones, how would involve parties maneuver around it? The quota on 4 wives, we don't know. Allah Ta'ala just restricted it to 4. It used to be unrestricted. See, Islam is the only scripture that actually put rules and regulations with respect to polygyny. We know that Prophet Sulaiman, rahimahullah, is alleged to have 700 wives, 300 concubines. That's quite a bit. You know what I'm saying? It's unrestricted prior to Islam. So it was 4. Even during the time of Prophet Islam, after the restriction came about, there were people who had married 10 wives. He told them, divorce 6, keep 4. All right. So it is what it is. Why is it? Allah Ta'ala is Al-Hakim. All right. He's the all-knowing, he's the all-wise. He's Al-Alim, Al-Hakim. And it is what it is. Long distance relationships.
Yeah, I don't want to cut you off. I'm going to speak. It's done.
Go ahead, you want to talk on that?
This is funny. I don't even know if my co-wife remembered it, but when we traveled, I ended up in Turkey, and this guy kind of did one of these. I'm like, before or after his funeral, you better say something right. Like you better be looking for the bathroom or something. But he was like, "Are you Coach Fatimah?" I'm like, because I was in the middle of the airport because he was looking for Coach Nazir. I'm like, he's not here right now. And then he was like, oh, that brother was from Somalia. Shout out to him. He had 3 wives on 3 different countries, in 3 different countries. He said, I fly like a triangle to visit. No excuses. No excuses. So he was on his way to go see one of his wives. He had one in Canada, one in Somalia, and somewhere else, Africa. And he was flying around, and he said, I fly like a triangle. And I said, SubhanAllah. I was so humbled by his story, because he was suited and booted, so he looked like he was going to go see somebody, but he wanted to thank us for the platform and all this stuff like that. But I just really I appreciate men that, okay, it's long distance, but I'm going to make it work. And I'm not going to come up with excuses for it. He's like, I'm doing the best I can, sister. Like, it ain't easy. But I was like, alhamdulillah, brother, that's a good job that you're doing. You're trying, keep his family together and stuff. Long distance for real.
Yeah, I think that's the thing too. Some people, they have to do it that way because of different types of, governmental things, as far as being able to get visas and this and everything like that. And men are going to make it work. Men, that's what it all comes down to. Leaders, men are going to make it work. Those who, decide that they want to have their families in one country, one city, that type of thing. That's what they do. So it's not a cookie cutter way to have it done. It's making sure that you're being just and that it works. It works. And when it all comes down to it, as the man, as the leader, as the man of the family, those responsibilities does right on your shoulder. So that's the interesting thing when women say this multiple husbands thing, because when it all comes down to it, the responsibilities of a wife, being there for your husband, being supportive, being nurturing, being caring, and being there for him, and also being there for him sexually and those different things like that, you multiply that. Then are you really capable of really doing that and not harming yourself? Harming, like physically harming yourself, mentally harming yourself, emotionally harming yourself. It's the women that are having an issue with their husbands having another wife, and they're mentally, physically, and everything, like harming themselves. So to take care of and be the wife that you need to be for multiple men, we got to be honest with ourselves when we talk about that stuff too. So, but yeah, being able to have that, do that, take that responsibility and take it serious and make it work.
Indeed. So Lonnie, thinks Lonnie or Lonnie? Lonnie?
I'm saying Lonnie.
I'm gonna say
Lonnie. All right. Lonnie says, women cannot effectively have multiple partners. Women have more complex emotions, but simple needs. Men have a more simple set of emotions, but complex needs. That's
funny,
interesting.
because I said something like that and I got
Who you speaking on, man? I know
people with
people had their
off.
perceptions. So, thus, to explain, one man can handle the needs of multiple women as long as that woman has multiple emotional supports, while most men need multiple women to fulfill their complex needs. Interesting perspective. Good stuff. Complex needs. Abdul Rahim says something.
Is it complex?
Yes. Abdul Rahim says, I already talked to my wife, but I have another wife. She already explained to me that she wouldn't want to be involved with the sister. I'm just trying to figure out why is that. Because she likely will be jealous. I mean, this is a normal, natural thing. First of all,
Club Nouveau had a
if
song.
you are married to a person, and that's you in monogamy, and that's all she know, that's all you know, and you're raised in a society that pushes monogamy, at least for the last 200 years, as though that's the norm, and people are really stuck to it really, really hard, like Velcro, right? Like new Velcro, for example. It's going to be a challenge to change and shift that belief, because it's going to appear, and it may even be true, that now she's taking a loss of time, a loss of these different things. She's taking a loss of friendship in society, because the only thing they know outside of monogamy is infidelity and cheating. So the default will be like, oh, this must be what cheating is, even on a subconscious level. But now this is legal cheating, because your religion or your belief system allows something like that to happen. All right. So there's a complex set of emotions that goes through it, and the person could be absolutely losing time, because if you split your time equally and stuff like that. So she will do that, because now you literally have the death of a relationship and the birth of a new relationship. And neither of those two things are easy, even though it's easier to give birth than to raise the dead. But the fact of the matter is, those emotions are legit. Like, I don't want to deal with it. I can understand that. You know what I'm saying? I could understand it. Does that mean it's the most mature thing in the world to do, or you shouldn't work on your persuasion or influence skills? No, you absolutely should. And paint a vision for your family that makes it even better. But it takes time and learning and work to do that in a proper fashion, especially if she's raised in the West and all she knows is Western culture and values and individualism. All right, so that's very important. It's not something to just be dismissed. Now, how the behavior comes from that is different. A person can feel however they want to feel almost about anything, except the deen in certain things, because that can literally make you a kafir. But outside of that, you can feel how you want to feel about many types of things. And it can be legitimate. Your feelings can be legitimate. That doesn't mean it's true or it's fact. But I can absolutely understand it, even though I don't agree that that's the default way. I understand why it can get there. I mean, that shouldn't be something hard to explain, but I'm not a woman, so let the women speak.
She doesn't have to communicate with her, but I would invite you to think of it this way, brother. What she has to understand is that she might not want a relationship or communicate with her yet, because you don't know who you're going to need. You know, so I always tell co-wives this. I train them on it. We both have, Coach Nyla and I. To this day, I know of a set of co-wives, 12 years, haven't talked to each other. They only talk to each other if they have to, and that involves something happening to their husband's health, freedom, whatever it is. And I said to, I have to gather the initial wives many times. But I said, you don't know when you're going to need her. So I wouldn't shut her off completely. Your children are siblings. So one thing for me in my own journey, I don't want my sons, my daughters are grown, they're adults. I have a son that's an adult. So my youngest baby, I don't want him to look back on things and say, you know what? You three or you mom, you made this so toxic, I couldn't even enjoy it. Because these little ones grow up to be men, and I don't want my sons or my bonus sons traumatized by, no, I ain't talking to your mom. Because, some wives will speak ill directly to the children, it gets really, really, really ugly. They put their hands on each other, all types of things like that. So we have to think deeper than that, because I love that quote that the woman you marry, her mindset is going to raise your children. So you have to be very careful who you marry, and you have to choose wisely, because you can't unring the bell once it's rung. But I would tell co-wives, don't be so quick to not talk, especially if your husband told you this is coming, because there's a level of respect, whether you want to admit it or not, that will open up for you because he did. So to honor that, don't give a statement like, I don't want nothing to do with her. Look, you don't know what you'll have to do with her, what you'll need from one another, or what kind of support you'll have to give one another. Don't let something horrible happen to your husband or him pass away, God forbid, and then you have to get to know each other and deal with that. So a lot of sisters are passing up on really great people because they can't get out of the way of their own ego. I'm just gonna say that because I've seen it, and I've met co-wives. We both have met co-wives that are really awesome people, and then you go, dang, I wish they would just talk to each other because they're both so great. Now I ain't talking to her because she's here. Skip that. I'm like, okay, cool, but don't get mad.
Real quick, you stated on there, you said that you asked us, why is that? Have you asked her, why is that? That's one of the questions that I have. If not, then that conversation, this is an ongoing conversation. It's one thing to tell your wife something. It's another thing to actually have a conversation with your wife about, the decision, and being able to do that and finding out from her why. I mean, we can have our speculations all day long, and, actually offering her that safe space to be able to talk to you, but also letting her know that you, as her husband, she as your wife, the support system and everything like that, should be offering a safe space for you as well, to be able to talk to her about these situations, because it is life-changing for both of you. So, but being able to ask her those things and having that space where you guys could keep the conversation going is, what I would suggest.
Let me remind you of Hadith of Prophet Aisha radiallahu anha said that the person who was most benefited, her people, was Juwariya, rahimahullah. Now, we're not going into the whole story and everything of the Sirah, but she was one of our mothers, Ummahat al-Mu'mineen. So her entire tribe, they were fighting against the Muslims. They lost. And you should know if you don't know, basically, historically speaking, when a tribe loses to another tribe or people, then they would become enslaved. And either they would be ransomed off, or they would be murdered as part of war, or they would be enslaved. That's how a lot of slavery was done back in the day. All right. You lost to a tribe. I don't care if you were African, white, Persian, Roman, Greek, whatever. It is what it is. That's where slaves came from. That's the way of the situation. Anyway, her tribe lost. So naturally, her father even was the ruler of that tribe. She was raised in luxury on the thrones and all this type of stuff. Was extremely wealthy. And she had been married for about 3 months. But her husband, after they got married, her husband went out. He fought. He ended up losing and whatnot. So she was a widow. But nevertheless, they tribe came in. I forget the name of the tribe. I'm sure you can look it up, or maybe someone could remind us in the comments. But her tribe lost. All right. Long story short, there was a squabble about who she would go to and so on and so forth. When they found out she was a princess, basically, then she came to make a case to the Prophet about trying to speak on behalf of her people and everything else and so on, right? And trying to negotiate. She came to the Prophet's house when he was with Aisha radiallahu anha, his wife. She said as soon as she saw her, Aisha said as soon as she saw Juwariya, she knew that the Prophet would like her. So she hated her immediately. She was like, I hate her. She's gorgeous. Okay, probably heard that today, just normal language. Oh, I hate her. She is so beautiful. Women still say the same thing that they were saying over 14 years ago back in Arabia. All right. So she made a request of the Prophet and he responded. He said, I will do better than that. I will marry you. So he proposed to her in front of his wife, Aisha radiallahu anha. He proposed to marry her in Aisha radiallahu anha. She knew what was going to come. She knew that this type of stuff would happen, right? So they ended up getting married. Then, of course, what happened to her entire tribe? No one wants to enslave someone, which is the rule of the land and the law at the time, that is an in-law of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So her entire tribe and everybody was freed, even though they legitimately could have been held as slaves, but nobody's going to hold, again, any in-law of the Prophet ﷺ. So that's the reason Aisha radiallahu anha said the person who benefited her people the most was Juwariya radiallahu anha. That says a couple of things, though. It says a number of different lessons in it. One of the lessons is that some people say, oh, the Prophet only married old, widowed, divorced, and ugly women, and it was only for political purposes. That's actually not the case, because there was another situation where a sister stood up and she offered herself to the Prophet saying, marry me. And what did the Prophet do? You look at this hadith, he looked at her and he looked her up and down. From his look, it was clear he wasn't interested. He remained silent so long since the companions felt uncomfortable about the situation. So a companion stood up saying, I will marry her, Ya Messenger of Allah, and so on. And he asked her, did she agree? And then they went ahead and got married. So yes, the Prophet ﷺ had attraction to his wives. 1. 2, she was young. She was in her 20s. Juwariya radiallahu anha. She was from prestige and everything else from this, from her tribe, and was raised with, again, on this throne and everything in this royalty. So when you only say, oh, he only had one virgin wife, which is actually true. And then he had, again, Juwariya radiallahu anha. She was in her early 20s. She was a widow, being married only 3 months, so on and so forth. But a lot of these different lessons. Can you imagine that today, where somebody would say, oh my God, how could you propose to somebody else in front of your wife? That's crazy, disrespectful, inconsiderate, even all this type of stuff, all the while not knowing or not paying attention, not having concern to what the best human being on the planet had did and had done, right? So just remember these things when it comes to jealousy and this things being natural and just the human experience. It's very important. We know that, and we know how to operate, but also know where we're coming from. We're in a society right now, monogamy is being pushed as the thing. So since men are being under forced monogamy in general, they're not required to be more. So what happens now, similar to things that are unnatural in other places. So you look at other places and say, oh, it's not natural to get married. You should just be celibate or not marry at all, or marry the church. Now all of a sudden you got multi-billion-dollar lawsuits for these people trafficking and doing horrendous things to children in the name of God and so on, right? What they do. So what happens though? You have this forced monogamy with men. They have mistresses, they have jump downs, they have boyfriends, girlfriends on the side, right? They have, you got the OnlyFans stuff, you got the porn stuff, you got the prostitutes, you have the escorts. All of this stuff is still alive and thriving. All right, still going on to this day. But what gets shunned and talked negative about? Oh, polygyny. How dare you talk about actually being responsible and taking care of your family, having them under your wing and providing and protecting for them. That right there is absolutely moral. That's why it's illegal here in the West. Meanwhile, we'll have a Olympics and have a whole drag set and everything else going on, mocking the Last Supper. That's the world that many of us are living in.
Not only that, if you're a teacher and your student identifies as a cat, you're supposed to have a litter box in the room. Hello? So it gets circus level. And if you don't, you can lose your job. If you use the wrong pronouns, you could lose your job. And their parents will come in and say, my child identifies as a kitten, and you don't have a litter box in here. What's the problem? Or the litter box has to be in the whatever they choose. I don't know if they roll the dice, but in one of the restrooms. A litter box. I'm dead serious. In parts of America. So, and you worried about polygyny?
Sanaa said, I remember Coach Fatimah once said, which really stuck with her, your husband is a part of your life. He isn't your life. Right. Only polygyny is the husband all of a sudden just out there and so important, so much time, and I have nothing else to do. Prior to that, they talk crazy about the husbands and ungrateful and unrecognized stuff many times amongst conversations that I've heard at different iftars and different husbands have concerns. But nevertheless, this is what it is.
Down there tearing it up.
All right. So
get to it.
I can't even hardly see the Arabic on that. So wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I was able to marry my wives this year. I'm trying to get my wives to meet. How should I go about this? Look, you see a bottom of the screen where it says join our private polygamous community. Go to polygamyeducation.com. All right, you want to join the polygamous community that really, we put all of our educational courses in there, all right, at a low monthly price. We got to keep the trolls out, of course. to go ahead and educate and connect, as well as schedule meet and greet. So if you haven't checked it out, make sure you do check it out. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put the URL, http polygamyeducation.com.
I'm glad you cleaned that up because it sounded like we had land with polygamous
Mm-hmm.
people on it. It made it sound like our community.
Our Polygyny online community. Let's be clear.
Community. Yeah.
Yes, it is an education.
And Farid says, "Would you get 2 more wives?"
Hey.
I'm open, but I'm not looking. All right. Right now, I'm in the stage of my life. You have to understand something. Polygyny, when people used to talk about polygyny, you see 3, right? You see 3 or 4, right? And they all on top of each other, licking each other and
Not
kissing.
licking each
They
other.
are. They like kissing over, it's triple kissing. It's overly sex. It's overly sexualized and stuff like that, as though that's what polygyny is.
Right.
All right. You don't see right now. You see 3 of us. But if I call my boys out here and you see them get all behind us and everything else and wave to y'all, then you know this is family, right? So I am in the, again, first time I got married, I was 19 years old, really early part of my life. Young, didn't know a lot, didn't get established, having to figure stuff out. Coming from a total traditional, stereotypical, belly of the beast, ridiculous way of growing up, from my kindergarten to 10th grade Christian schooling type stuff, to disowning all religion, not having any interest in Islam whatsoever, until I tried to prove it wrong, and then it submitted me because I was objective about it, to then get married again, 15 years later, right? And then now, being in polygyny, almost 15 years, something like that, right? So yeah, it's 15, 14, 15, is double digits, over a dozen years, right? So now I'm at different stages of my life as a man and looking for different things and different requirements and so on. So I'm responsible for helping my children get married because they're older. I have most of them are adults now, right? All the girls and So most of my children I have 10 children with my wives and then 2 bonus children. So I'm focused on the legacy building part for the next generation and the next generation after that, right? Yeah. So that's more important than me finding another wife. That's when I have more kids and do stuff like that. But that's not my priority right now. Now, am I open to it? I'm open to it, but it would really have to be really have to align properly and everything else. And since I'm not looking for it, it's unlikely to happen because now the time and the requirements I have are far different than when I was 19 or far different when I was in my mid-30s. You know what I'm saying? So, and this ain't I'm not gonna marry somebody the age of my daughters and stuff like that. I'm not interested in that. So we for totally different things. It's not just simply would you know what I'm saying? But just let you know.
He's been I love it. I think it's hilarious because I've had women women came up to other women that came up to me and said, well, Fatimah, I'm like, child, I can look at you.
What that mean? What does that mean?
Your hat in the ring.
Oh. So what she's saying is that women have come up to her that were interested in me, and she was like, no, he wouldn't be interested in you because she knows my type.
I just say it. I don't want you to waste your time. Don't throw your hat in the ring and throw it back out. I'm just saying.
If you got thick skin,
pull up.
do what you do.
All right, so we're gonna move off past this topic about whether or not I'll marry other wives.
Do what you do.
Aisha says regarding long distance relationships, a lot of women just want a companion to do things with when they see them. All right, depending on again where they are in their life. Long distance relationships. A lot of women would just want a companion to do things with that companionship and to do it in a loud way. Of course.
Because people ask us, well, don't you miss him? Don't you want him? I said, we love him, y'all. Yep. However, love you to death. Can't be in the house with me. Not every day because that's
all day.
Responsibilities. Those are the responsibilities that come into play. Yeah. And when he's not there, we do far more personal development and different things that we have to do for us individually. So it's not that he's not missed or not loved, and we don't miss his presence. It's not that. It's that it opens the door for us as women individually to take time and work on the things and look inward on what we need to work on. And that's important. So a lot of women, remember that couple was at an iftar. This was a long time ago. Our kids were still little. It was that long ago. And she said to me, they had such a good energy, Southern black couple. And she looked at me, she said, honey, you won't care where he go when you get a certain age. I'm like, dang, what? Somebody got to not care where somebody go. I get what she meant. because you'll enjoy your time with yourself. And I bet you that couple, that husband was practicing polygyny and we didn't know it.
I think the interesting thing is too, even with that, because people will say, "Well, wow, he make you do this," and it's not about that. It's about, as women, like I stated earlier, we have this natural inclination to be nurturers, to be carers. So there'll be, it could be a time where he's working, we could still be doing our lesson or whatever we want to do, but because we are around that energy, or we're around it, like, you need something, you want something to eat, you want something to drink, you want something, what I'm saying? When the person is there, you're gonna do that because you're just naturally gonna do that. Maybe we should. I don't know what y'all do. I'm just saying we do. We do. But when he's not, then it's easy to not, because he's not there. It's different.
All right, so here's a very important statement that I want to let y'all address first, inshallah. So Abdul Rahim says he spoke to his wife. She said they've had multiple conversations about polygyny and marrying again. And she replied that she would lead a marriage if he decided to take on another wife.
Oh man.
So what are your thoughts regarding this type of conversation?
She better make
Dang.
sure. She better make damn sure that she is not making a statement in haste without proper logic behind it. Because we like to throw that out there.
Yeah.
I'll do this, and I'm taking the kids, and I'll leave you, and I'll da-da-da-da-da. Some need to be left. I'm going to just say that. Some men need to get divorced. Because if it becomes
And that ain't got nothing to do with polygyny.
difficult,
Right.
if it becomes so difficult, it doesn't, and then sometimes it does. Because I remember this one sister told me something, and it was so powerful. She said to me, Fatimah, when she was cutting up the initial wife, and I mean, it doesn't matter the sequence, however, I'm just being specific, so that you know, because this is the situation we might be in. But she said her husband told her, it's interesting, I've been married to you longer, but she's been a better wife to me now. Because she was throwing up, I'll leave you. All these threats. And sometimes they're just said to hurt because they're hurt. One thing I've said, and I mean, just because you're hurting doesn't give you the right or the privilege, because some are privileged, to think you can use that hurt to humiliate your husband. Whether it's just you and him there, whether you're on this computer, the interweb, or whatever, or in front of your friends, or in the quiet of your own thoughts. So sometimes these statements are made, and they're just statements that are made. However, you will find yourself traumatized by those that you love because of statements like these. She could be bluffing, she could be dead serious. But that's something that you shouldn't have to wonder or find out or figure out. A lot of women get upset because they have that fear of loss thing. That's important to them. But then it gets thrown out at you. So, that's a really rough one.
This always bothers me. It saddens me, actually, because it's very manipulative. And to do those things to someone that you love because you think, like Coach Fatimah said, because you think someone hurt you or you felt hurt, and you start to throw this venom just to be manipulative. I mean, and like I said, it could be true, whatever the case may be, but it's something that's put out there. And it's like, now you have to think twice. Are you sleeping with the enemy? Did you marry the enemy? Is this a person that, because you told them something that is allowed to you and that you let them in on it, that they throw these threats, to you to make you feel guilty for something that you can do to make, to something that you want to do that's not wrong for you to do, that can also improve, your quality of life. It's very heartbreaking. And when I see women do that, it hurts me, because I'm like, why are we just come to this point where now we are being oppressors, that we are oppressing the people in our lives because we want them to do the things that we want, we're not happy unless unless we get whatever we want whenever we want it, regardless of how anybody else feels about it. So when it all comes down to it, you as a man, and Coach Nyla, I'm going to stop talking about it because Coach Nyla probably have more to say about it. But when it all comes down to it, that's where your decision lies, and to see as a man what that entails for you as a leader, what that entails for you. Like, it's good having those conversations, but when they say hurting people hurt people, that's a true statement. But for someone to hurt someone that they love, that is where you have to go into, what is your intention? Why are we together? Are you, every time you don't get your way, are you going to cause destruction and drama and all these problems specifically because you don't get what you want? And then that comes to asking the questions of this manipulation. Is it manipulative? Or is it mental illness, or whatever the heck it is? But are you with me or are you against me? And as wives, and as husband and wife, we're supposed to be there for each other and be together. We're supposed to win together. And that's just having that conversation without throwing guilt and shame and blame and all that other stuff out there.
All right, so yeah. So you see there are some serious considerations here, and especially for you as the man, right? Because if you're the man and you are the imam of your family, that means, again, the leader of your family, and you're supposed to be moving in a direction that somebody threatens, whether that is, an actual thing, a person to follow through with, or if it is just a threat to try to have an ultimatum or weighing, control over you, which is that emotional manipulation part. Or again, you sleep with the enemy. This is one of the reasons many are like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and marry without her knowing and just do it like that because it's none of her business. Now, there are ulama that say that that's fine. It is what it is, right? But I know it's not best practices to do regardless. I mean, for the family moving forward and everything else, especially when the children are involved. Mm-hmm. However, the question you have to really come to is whether or not you as the man are going to continue to be the man, or if you are not, are you going to let resentment grow? Because now that impacts you on several different levels. I dealt with brothers who sat in coaching sessions and had tears well up because now they're questioning, one, respect, two, loyalty. These two characteristics are extremely important to masculine men. All right, these are extremely important, not only because who you are as a man and what you want, but it's important when it comes to your lineage. There are short shows like Paternity Court or Maury Povich, and You Are Not the Father. You see men get broken apart, dealing with women who claim that the children are theirs. You see men that have been taking care of children that haven't been theirs, that they thought were theirs, but they weren't. Mm-hmm. So this type of thing leads to a whole, not just a range of different emotions in men that tend to come out as anger and rage and so on. Or for the men who capitulate to this type of behavior, it minimizes them and dismisses them as men. It cuts off the nuts, just to be frank. All right. So you have to determine whether or not it's worth it. You take risks every single day. Are you willing to be with someone who resentment will build for and control your decision as a man with something that is allowed to you that is going to get you more barakah? The reason I say it's going to get you more barakah, the Prophet ﷺ says, every morsel of food that you put in your wife's mouth, you get a blessing for. Well, you have two wives. Does that mean you get double the blessings? Yeah. And if marriage is half your deen and you're providing for more and you're being stretched more, see, many women are absolutely okay with their men being half men. All right, because the Quran lets us know you can marry 2 or 3 or 4. But if you feel you can't be just, you can't do justice, then 1. That's all it says. It doesn't say 1 is better. It just says if you feel you can't do justice, then 1. And clearly that's better for you because Al-Hakim said it. Many women will prefer that their man is not able to do any type of justice. So therefore, allowing other women to go ahead and suffer and not have the ability to have a husband. So you need to recognize, many people won't recognize until they have this polygyny discussion with the woman that they are going to marry or they are married to, where that loyalty of that person stands. Is it for their own personal individualism and self-satisfaction? Or is it to be the supportive person for a husband? Because they're not partners, they're your wives. You're the man. So that must be weighed. Now, there's a whole process that goes with that. We can't really address the full thing in this short live that we're about to wrap up. But that's where we go into more detail in the community with men's issues, because it's important to decide whether or not you are going to be a man, or you're going to allow resentment to grow. You're going to do other things that you're not addressing that will make you look like a coward by doing, things without courage. So yeah, there's that part, but that's very, very important to see. And also women, we onto that game of emotional manipulation. We letting people know about it. You better not say it unless, and if you get your card get pulled, you better have a plan. And this leads to other sick and evil things. Not just that, the statement not saying evil things, silver bullet. Right?
No,
There's a whole, right. So evil things like, Coach Fatimah was telling me about this whole silver bullet thing where now, for example, if there's a custody battle of a child, we know how that usually goes in the West, where the child will go with the mother. And we already know single mother-led homes are the worst types of homes to be in for children, that lead to all kinds of ridiculousness, whether it's dealing with poverty, whether it's dealing with drugs, incarceration, promiscuity, all types of things in a single mother-led household, not the same single father-led household. Interestingly enough, single father-led house is almost as good as being a two family household as a healthy household. Now, it doesn't matter if you have two there, and if it's toxic and ridiculous, I'm just giving the facts. So there's a whole thing with silver bullet where, accuse a man of molestation. Just throw that out there. Ruin his life, do that type of, just by making an accusation and try to come back from up under that accusation. So it's those types of things, and the weaponizing of tears and weaponizing emotions in women's apparent weak stature, but come out as monsters on the emotional scale. So be really challenging. Now, again, it's not painting a broad brush, but we know, as a lot of adolescents know about the kuffar, they say one thing with their tongue, but their hearts conceal is far worse. That's why many people say, it's an iman issue if a woman does not, as the Muslima that has an issue with polygyny, it's an iman issue. Now, does that mean she doesn't have to want it for herself? No, that don't mean she has to want it for herself. That just means if you have that much of a problem with polygyny, then you have to check in with Al-Hakim. And I'm going to remind you, for those of you who don't know, that monogamy is not a marriage you will find in paradise, period. All right. See if there are questions. If there are, who's cleaning the litter box? Umbaina.
The janitor.
Right.
The janitor got to clean that mug.
All right. All right. All right, cool. All right, so there's another question, not question marks ahead, but it starts with the question word. So, Ulumede, Lawal, I don't know how to pronounce it right. Pardon me. Seems like one of our African names. Not sure. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I just know how to pronounce it. But I'm not being European about it, but Ulumede? I don't know. All right, so let's get to the question, all right? You know what I'm saying? So, but thank you for having the name up there. I'm just saying, what about when you have one wife who doesn't fill your emotional needs and intellectual needs, but she'd be a good mother? Is it advisable to get another wife to get those emotional needs? First, I would suggest, one, you don't need an official reason to marry another wife. You just need to be qualified to do it. All right. However, any intelligent man that's leading his family is going to want to lead the family. All right. So if there's something that may be missing, or you don't see something that's there, right, and you could absolutely be missing plenty of things as a man, as a husband as well. But if there's some shortcomings, then why not work on personal growth there? So if she needs help with, these needs, and you say emotional needs and intellectual needs. Okay, cool. Why not getting a mastering emotional course or program, whether that's, let's say, a Tony Robbins program, or learn something together, or watching different YouTube channels, or going to polygamy education, or watching our YouTube channel, whatever, to actually work on it together. Because now you're building it together. Because if it's not built, then guess what? You're going to continue drifting apart. So what's the point? See, marrying a second or a third or fourth wife is not going to make up for a marriage.
Right.
All right. It's not there to plug a hole in this marriage.
Right.
That boat is a boat on its own. If it has a hole in it, it's going to keep on taking water and keep sinking. Getting another new boat ain't going to help it.
Right.
All right. So that's not good logic. All right. Of course, you can get your needs met however you want. But the fact that matters, if you value the marriage and the people, and that's your wife and you love her, you want to build on that. So work on it together. Do it together. Read the books together. Read the book out loud. She can listen. Let her read it out. Whatever it may be. All right. Find creative ways to lead as a leader. Find solutions to problems. That's a part of leadership.
And just real quick, just those little things. Maybe those little thoughts that are put out there that make people believe that that's what polygyny is about, that all it is that husbands are just grabbing other women or why, getting married just to fill in these gaps that's missing and these different things. And when it all comes down to it, people don't understand that these other women that supposedly be the ones that's supposed to fill in the gap, they're still people too. So they're not just little pawns or anything that's just being used for, things. Because sometimes that mentality causes them to leave them and have them just have them fending for themselves or whatever, if the first wife or the initial wife is not happy with it, or if it got better in this relationship and everything like that in this marriage, is like, okay, everything is all good now, so bye-bye to you, and then not realizing that these are still people that with emotions and feelings and everything as well. So we got to be careful with the mindset and what we put on the institution of marriage as well, especially polygyny, because it's not just okay, let me just fill in these gaps with, a person like, they're just, a new toy or something like that you can discard when everything else is all good somewhere else.
Indeed. We have 2 more things we're going to talk about with the divorce card, some very important comments, but we'll be back in 2 minutes because we have to pay the bills. We want to show you a little bit about what we got going on.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace. I'm Coach Nazir.
And I'm his wife, Coach Fatimah.
And I'm Coach Nyla. I am also his wife.
We are the founders of Outstanding Personal Relationships, as well as the authors of the book, Let's Talk Polygamy Uncensored. With that being said, I want to congratulate you because you are at the absolute best place you can be online for authentic relationship and marriage education, especially when it comes to polygyny. So our campus includes a number of different incredible benefits, including, let's get into it.
What's so awesome is we have meet and greets. Although we're not matchmakers, we do have a platform where you can meet one another and communicate in a healthy manner, no matter if you're single, married, or looking for polygamy, or it doesn't even matter what age you are.
And within those meet and greets, you also can discuss your different classes. Yes, we have live classes on the campus as well. And you can discuss that with the peer circle as well as with your coaches. And another thing that I really love is the discussion circles. So you have different challenges that you can post and take a part of and join, and you can be inspired by others or just be inspirational to others.
We understand the importance and significance of continuing education, especially when it comes to relationships, whether we're talking about the mental, emotional, of course, the financial. When you're talking about polygyny, of course, that's already a hot topic to begin with. So whether that is a young man to an older man or a more mature man, if you will, or younger ladies, brand new to their womanhood and femininity, to older, more seasoned sisters. And no matter your background, your ethnicity, your religious affiliation, this right here is on a whole nother level. So be sure to enroll in the campus. With that being said, we want you to increase in your GLC through the campus.
So make sure you are growing intentionally,
Loving fearlessly,
and connecting on a higher level
every single day.
We will see you in the campus.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace. Now they are. We are back. So make sure you guys, if you haven't already, go to polygamyeducation.com. So we'll see you guys in the campus. Ooh, whoopsies. This is not my laptop.
And then if IG says, I think as women, we might be able to have feelings for more than one man, but in terms of being invested, then no. But I mean to be drained.
Tell it, girl. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let's see. I'm trying to figure out where we left off at here. So we're answering questions. We're seeing some questions. You said what? Oh, right above faith. Okay.
Women are in a weird spot where it's competition to have a man get married, etc. So there's a mistrust of other women automatically, and it's the fear of the unknown.
That's interesting. That's true, and not even just the competition. It's just I did a video talking about the Disney princess mentality, and where a lot of that conditioning is where it's like, okay, well, you ride off into sunset and be happily ever after. But it's not just that; it's any other woman that is there. She got to be your enemy. She's there to take your man, or she's there to take your stuff, or she's there to steal your happily ever after, whatever. And those are things that have been ingrained, gosh, for I don't know how long. So yeah, definitely, that's been, that's a conditioning mechanism. But okay, you said faith right there. A woman that threatens her husband.
Yeah, Faith says, and then we're gonna go back up. If a woman threatens her husband with leaving, whether she be bluffing or not, if he doesn't marry another, but knows it's his right, he will possibly resent her for that. Right, we were talking about that for sure. And Sana says, we definitely shouldn't play with leaving or divorce card like that. All right, life isn't the game. As women, we do get so emotional, but in the end, regret it. We have to take time and think with a clear mind.
Mm-hmm.
Easier said than done, but absolutely agree.
So true.
All right, is age considered in readiness and the age of marriage as well? Is age considered in readiness? Not necessarily. I mean, if you're an adult, it doesn't really matter. I mean, what matters more is your maturity level and your ability to be self-aware more than anything. Similar to marriage. I mean, I want to have my sons ready, before they're 18 years old. Now, that's not the easiest thing to do. They're not prepared for that just yet. You know what I'm saying? Hormonally is one thing, but being mentally equipped and ready and stuff like that. I mean, their brains aren't going to finish developing really until they're 25. But we want them to be well equipped and well rounded and solution oriented and able to marry more than one woman. I mean, I want dozens and dozens of grandbabies.
It's interesting you said that. I came across something, and they were talking about, I guess this is trend going on social media or maybe TikTok or something, where the children are comparing their lives at their age now to their parents' lives at the age that that their children are. So it'll be like, okay, mom and dad at 18, 19, and me at da-da-da type of thing. And one of it was, and this is really interesting because it's really telling when you see it, because it's funny, but it's really telling, because it was one where it was 18, 19. It was like mom and dad getting married at 18 and 19. And then it's like my brother at an Easter egg hunt at 29, still single. And then it was like my mom at 22 with 4 kids or something like that, or no, with 3 kids or something, or 3 of us. And then it was like me dancing at 22, dancing in a Pikachu costume. And then it was the other one was like, oh, my mom having, the 4th child with my dad and everything like that at a certain age. And it was like, me asking for money to money for the claw machine, type of thing. So it's those different things where it's like, okay, if you look at that back then, what they were doing, they were getting married, building families. The natural family dynamic and the legacy was, they were building that, or they were working to build that. And now the focus is on something different. And it's like, is that progressive? Is it just like, okay, you're 20 years old or 22 years old or 24 years old, and you're asking for money for a claw machine to play in a game. I guess it's a game where, whatever, you get toys out of the machine. Or you're dancing in a Pikachu costume, or you're 29 years old and an Easter egg hunting, by yourself, single or whatever. It's like, what does that say? So it's really telling of that. So when you say age and maturity, age, is age a thing? It looks more that it's of a maturity and a mindset and, like Coach Nazir said, an emotional maturity thing, emotional growth type thing. And if you are mature enough to handle it and do it.
Indeed, if you look at the first house that the Prophet ﷺ was actually teaching and doing as private dawah, it was Al-Arqam ibn Abi Arqam, radiallahu anhu. He was 13. It was his house. That's enough said. And married young and everything else. Okay, so Betsy, if you could rephrase your question, I find it hard to understand it. If you could redo that, that would be great. Aisha, sister, she says, all right, Islam is not just based on polygamy. What about the rest of the deen and worshiping Allah Ta'ala? All right, couple things. No, Islam is not just based on polygyny. That's just simply a form of marriage, whether it's monogamy or polygyny. All right, we're not anti-monogamy, we're simply pro-morals. Now, here's the thing, though. When people say this, there's a couple challenges here. Did not the Prophet ﷺ say, marriage is half your deen? Marriage is half your deen. So if we're talking about marriage, we're literally talking about half the deen. We're talking about the thing that brings people together, all right? That brings people together. In polygyny brings even more people together in marriage. What is the number one thing that Shaitan, all right, or Iblis, if you will, celebrates his followers, the Shayateen, with? It's the breaking up of the family, isn't it? See, so the issues and the challenges that we have right now, in addition to hubbul dunya wa karahiyatul maut, it's the love for this life and hatred of death, as the Prophet ﷺ talked about, is our families are upside down right now, being attacked from every single angle, not only just as in the ummah, but period, as an extension of that ummah. Before I became part of the ummah, I was just traditional Black American, stripped from my ancestry and heritage and everything else, and following religion that was not mine, not from my family, not from my ancestors, and had my life all the way backwards. Okay, so how many we all, came back and found Islam. Now, one of the foundations and cruxes of that is marriage, which is half the deen. Now, we're not giving khutbahs, we're not giving fatwa, we're not qualified for that, nor are we interested. However, there are thousands of podcasts, or hundreds of podcasts. There are thousands of websites, plenty of social media channels if you want to seek and learn from talibul ilm or ulama and all of that. We encourage you to do so. And we encourage you to press them on talking about the hikmah behind polygyny, ta'addud. All right? Because if marriage is half your deen, and you get rewarded, for example, for having multiple daughters, and you get these daughters, you raise them up on education and everything, and you choose your gate of Jannah from, then it's not only important as a husband and a wife, but also as a father and a mother. And that's what we're representing, what we're bringing, what we're qualified to do. So if anyone has a problem with that, it is what it is. You can have a problem with it, you can go to another channel, and what have you. And we would encourage you to do so and to study your deen, no matter what. But do not continue to overlook this part of your deen that unfortunately many people, because of the colonizations of our minds over the last couple of hundred years, has done when it comes to this form of marriage, which is strong, which is fast, which is moral, and which allows you to have a strong family should you choose to be following it and doing it right. Hope you're not offended by that.
Overlook it, don't diminish it or be disrespectful towards it.
Indeed. And the last thing we'll put, Bessie hasn't put her stuff up there. Gerunisha Boulay. I think I said that right. If I didn't, that sounded pretty cool though. Mm-hmm. For South Africa, she says that she is an incoming wife and the initial wife refuses to acknowledge her. She turned to Allah Ta'ala and remembrance of Allah does find comfort. Alhamdulillah. Indeed. All right. Corey says, if you're going to wrap up, our community is made up of marriages. Islam encompasses our marriages. Therefore, polygyny is a major topic. No question. And we agree. We appreciate you. If you don't already have, letstalkpolygamy.com is where you can get our book from. If you want to join our community, where we go into more detail like this, you can talk to me, talking to my wives, whatnot, breaking stuff down in our own private polygynous community. Or if you're even looking for someone who is open and who has been through different educational courses, we're trying out some stuff right now. We're looking at connecting people, not only who are curious about it, but who are serious about it. So we're going to see how that works, but that's only in our community. We're not going to be putting that out for the whole world, stuff like that. We're not trying to attract the wrong crowd or types of people. With that being said, I know that a wish changes nothing, but a decision changes everything. And we're going to leave you with some GLC.
So make sure you are growing intentionally,
loving fearlessly, and
connecting on a higher level
every single day.
See y'all at polygamyeducation.com, y'all. What's up? Go ahead.
Yay, yay.